Have you ever wondered what missing you actually looks like to an avoidant? It doesn't look like tears, or late night messages, or desperate calls. It looks like stillness. It looks like someone scrolling through their phone, only to lock it again, before your name even appears. To you it seems like they've moved on, like your absence barely touches them. But that's the illusion avoidants create best control. They hide their ache behind quiet screens and calm faces. They act untouched, because that's how they survive their own chaos. But deep inside, it's loud. The silence that once protected them now turns against them. Every unspoken word echoes. Every memory, once soft, now cuts like glass. They won't show it. They never do, because showing it means exposure, and exposure for them feels like danger. So they pretend not to care. They laugh at something on their phone. They talk to new people, keep themselves busy. But when the world goes quiet again, your name returns. Not as a thought, but as a pulse, a quiet heartbeat that won't fade. Missing you, for an avoidant, is not visible. It's not a cry for attention. It's a war against themselves. It's pride versus pain, distance versus desire. And that's the part you never see, that behind their calm, they're fighting a storm they'll never confess to. Because missing you, for them, isn't about reaching out. It's about surviving the silence they once chose. When an avoidant misses you, they don't chase you. They chase memories, moments, fragments of warmth that play like silent films in their mind. They remember your voice, not the words, just the tone, the calmness that used to settle their chaos. They remember your eyes, not for how they looked, but for how they saw them. The way you looked at them like they were safe, even when they didn't feel that way inside. But they'll never tell you that. They'll never confess that they still check your name in the chat list, hovering, hesitating, their thumb trembling over a message they'll never send. They open your photos folder, but swipe away before your face appears, because seeing you feels too real, too dangerous. They scroll through your posts in the dark, pretending it's nothing. They find excuses to hear your name in conversations, and when it slips out of someone's mouth, they freeze for a second. That's how their heart betrays their silence. But to the world, they look calm, unaffected, untouched. They'll smile, laugh, go out, even flirt, all while their chest feels like it's folding in on itself. Because for an avoidant, missing you is not something they express, it's something they hide to survive. They become masters of disguise. They turn their longing into logic, their heartbreak into self-control, their love into distance. You won't see the nights they scroll through their gallery, only to delete a photo because it hurts too much to keep it. You won't see the messages they type and erase, again and again, trying to sound casual, but ending up silent, because silence feels safer than hope, and pride feels lighter than rejection. So they keep pretending they're fine. But the truth, they're not missing you less, they're just missing you quietly, in their own hidden language of longing, where every memory is a whisper they refuse to speak out loud. Missing you becomes their secret addiction, a feeling they'll never admit, a quiet ache they'll carry long after you've stopped wondering if they ever cared at all. They want to reach out. Every part of them screams to type your name, to break the silence, to say something, anything. But their thumb hesitates, hovering over the screen, as if one message could shatter the fragile wall they've built around their heart. Because wanting you feels like weakness, and weakness to an avoidant feels like danger. They were taught, somewhere, somehow, that love comes with loss, that closeness leads to pain, that care invites disappointment. So now, every time their heart softens, their mind stiffens, every longing turns into logic, every impulse to reach out becomes a quiet war with themselves. They imagine your reaction. What if you ignore them? What if you've moved on? What if reaching out means surrendering all the power they fought to keep? So they silence the feeling. They bury the urge beneath self-control, pretending it doesn't hurt, pretending it doesn't matter. But it does. It always does. Because when the night slows down, and the noise fades, their thoughts get louder, and no amount of pride can drown the sound of a name they still care about. It's a constant tug of war, one side craving connection, the other terrified of it. They tell themselves they're protecting their peace, but deep down, they know they're protecting their fear of needing someone, their fear of being seen, their fear of losing again what they never had the courage to hold. So they stay quiet, not because they don't care, but because caring feels like surrender, and surrender feels like falling into something they don't trust to catch them. That's the silent war inside them, the one you'll never see, but always feel, in the pauses, in the delays, in the messages never sent, and in the space between what they want to say and what they actually do. They don't realize it yet, but the silence they use to stay safe is slowly becoming the reason they feel lost. In the quiet hours, when the world slows down, they remember, not the big moments, not the dramatic ones, but the small ones, the ones that slip by unnoticed, the ones that now echo louder than any argument or fight. They remember your laughter, soft and unguarded, the way it lingered in the air like it was meant just for them. They remember how you said their name, softly, when the chaos of the world pressed too hard against them. That simple sound, your voice in that one moment, was a lifeline they didn't even know they needed. They replay these memories again and again, not to feel better, not to find comfort, but to remind themselves of what they lost. They lost it because they chose space over closeness, silence over vulnerability, protection over presence. Every memory becomes a quiet weight, pressing on their chest, reminding them that their walls built so carefully also built their own loneliness. They imagine moments they could have had, words they could have said, touches that were never shared. They see themselves in those memories, smiling at your smile, reaching for a hand that's no longer theirs to hold. It's a bittersweet ache, a mix of longing and regret, a sense that they are haunted, not by what you did, but by what they refused to do. And in this reflection, there's honesty, the kind they rarely allow themselves to feel. They see that their silence, once a shield, was also a barrier to the only thing that ever truly mattered, you. They don't act on these thoughts, that's not their way, but the reflection lingers. It shapes their nights, their sighs, the restless pacing of hearts that can't forget. Because in these moments, fleeting and fragile, they realize the cost of avoiding love, that protecting their space can also mean losing the warmth that once made them feel alive. And yet, even in this ache, they can't fully reach for you. They only hold the memory, turn it over silently in their mind, and learn too late what absence really feels like. At first, they feel in control. The silence they chose feels like power. They tell themselves it's protection, a necessary distance, a way to guard their fragile heart. They tell themselves you'll reach out again, that you always do, that absence isn't permanent, and the world still bends to their rules. Days pass, weeks pass, and suddenly the silence begins to weigh, not on you, never on you, but on them. The quiet they believed would give them strength now presses down like a storm they didn't see coming. The absence they created feels heavier than the love they thought they protected themselves from. They replay the moments in their mind, all the messages they didn't send, all the chances they didn't take, all the words left unspoken, echoes of a connection they thought was safe behind walls of self-control. It's in that quiet that the realization hits. Slowly, painfully, their control wasn't control at all. It was a trap. They didn't protect their peace. They destroyed the connection that meant the most. The wall that once made them feel untouchable now feels like a prison, and the irony burns. The very thing they built to survive, their careful silence, their distance, their space, is the thing that isolates them. It twists against them, reflecting back everything they wanted to avoid, longing, regret, and the undeniable truth that you are no longer theirs to reach. Every memory becomes a reminder of what they could have had. Every thought of you is a weight that pride cannot lift. And yet, they sit there, caught between the desire to reclaim what's lost, and the fear that reaching out will shatter them further. The emotional tables have turned. The one who thought they were safe, the one who thought they were in control, is now the one trapped. It's a cruel lesson, quiet but undeniable. Control is never about holding back others. It's about holding your own heart wisely. And in this moment, the avoidant feels what they've never felt before, the emptiness of power without presence, and the bitter ache of knowing they let it slip away. Avoidants don't miss you the way everyone else does. It's not constant, not predictable, not the kind of longing that asks for attention. It's in flashes, sudden unexpected waves that hit when they least anticipate it. A memory of your laugh in a quiet room, a phrase you once said that surfaces when they're alone, a photograph that makes their chest tighten as if it's physically pulling them back. These moments come without warning, and they leave them breathless, unsettled, aware of a gap they cannot fill. And yet outwardly, they appear calm, controlled and different. Pride holds them frozen. Admitting they miss you would mean admitting they cared, and caring, real vulnerable care, feels unsafe, because showing it could break the shield they've built, could expose the soft part of themselves they've learned to hide, could make them feel powerless in a world they've spent so long protecting themselves from. So they endure the ache silently. They replay your name in their mind. They imagine the conversations they'll never start. They feel the pull of your presence even when it's gone, but they say nothing. To them, admitting loss or longing feels like weakness, and weakness is dangerous. It's a threat to the very identity they've forged, independent, untouchable, controlled, so they hold the pain inwards. They let it wash over them in quiet tides, feeling the full weight of what they can't express. And here lies the truth you never see. They miss you, yes, but not like everyone else. They miss you in the spaces between words, in the silences they choose, in the glances they avoid, and in the nights when their mind cannot stop returning to you. It's a lonely, hidden ache, a private storm of desire and restraint, one that they carry silently, while the world sees only the calm, collected exterior. This is the reality, the invisible longing of an avoidant heart. You don't see it, because they have learned to hide it even from themselves, but it exists, relentless and quiet, always just beneath the surface. One night, the world falls silent, not the kind of silence that comforts, but the kind that presses down, heavy and unyielding. They sit in the dark, staring at nothing, and yet seeing everything, every memory, every mischance, every word left unsaid. In that quiet, the walls they built around themselves start to crumble. The control they clung to feels hollow. The distance they believed would protect them now isolates them completely, and for the first time, maybe, they feel the full weight of what they lost. They think of you, not angrily, not resentfully, but with a painful clarity. You weren't the one who pushed them away. You weren't the problem. You were the calm they never learned to trust, the stillness they didn't know how to sit in, the care they feared would require them to be vulnerable. Every memory becomes sharper. The sound of your laugh echoes in their mind, the way your eyes softened when you looked at them. They feel that absence now as a hollow ache, and they finally understand. They weren't protecting themselves from you. They were protecting themselves from feeling too much, from facing the vulnerability they never mastered. Regret doesn't hit all at once. It creeps in quietly, slowly, like the tide reclaiming the sand. They realize the moments they could have reached out, the words they could have said, the connection they could have preserved, all gone because fear won over courage. And in that realization, there's pain unlike any other. Not anger, not resentment, just the pure, unguarded ache of what might have been. It's a private sorrow, invisible to the world, and yet it's powerful enough to make them feel small, fragile, human, exposed in ways they never let anyone see. This is the peak of their emotional journey, the moment where longing meets loss, where pride falters, and they are left with the undeniable truth. You were never the mistake, their fear was. And in that darkness, they sit, silent, heavy-hearted, understanding perhaps too late, the quiet beauty of what they lost, and the calm they could have held. If an avoidant ever misses you, you will never see it, not in messages, not in calls, not in gestures that demand attention. Their longing is quiet, invisible, folded deep inside where no one can reach it. It lives in pauses, in glances, in moments they can't explain even to themselves. The truth is, they don't miss you simply because you're gone. They miss the version of themselves. They lost the moment they pushed you away. The part of them that could feel freely, trust without fear, and open to love without walls. And that realization, when it comes, is heavy. It comes like a tide, washing over their carefully constructed shields, reminding them that absence is not just about distance, it's about what their choices cost them. They carry it every day, a quiet ache that shapes their thoughts, their nights, their smallest decisions. It doesn't show, but it exists. A hidden truth you'll never witness, and yet it's real, relentless, undeniable. For you, the lesson is simple. Their silence is not a reflection of your worth. It's a mirror of their fear. Their longing is not about control or cruelty. It's about survival, about navigating a heart that hasn't learned to be fully brave. And in understanding this, you find clarity. You see that their absence is not the whole story. You see that missing someone can exist quietly, unseen, yet profoundly felt. And you realize that your own calm, your boundaries, your strength, these are not lost on anyone, even if they never tell you. That is what missing you really looks like, to an avoidant. Not in words, not in gestures, not in proof, but in the silent, invisible ache of a heart learning too late what it lost.